Welcome to Ninerology. 49ers football is finally back. That's right, even though it is preseason, 49ers football is back. In fact, I had to pay $6.99 for NFL Plus just to get it because we didn't have the game here in the Central Valley. But 49ers football's back. Even though they lost 30-9, let's talk about takeaways, the good and not so good. We learned a lot. We got to see a lot of backup players play. Hey, spoiler alert, the 49ers don't have a lot of depth. If the 49ers need to go down into their depth chart for the offensive line help, for secondary help, for quarterback help, it's not going to look too good. Now let's start off with the initial point of the game, specifically the first quarter. Mac Jones started the game. We know that most starters weren't going to play this game. They're going to be playing the second and third preseason game. Kyle Shanahan made that known. So you had a first good look at Mac Jones. Mac Jones, who was not picked. Instead, Trey Lance was picked over Mac Jones. That same Mac Jones, everybody thought the 49ers were going to take at 10. They did not take at 10. They jumped up, traded 3 first-round picks to get Trey Lance, and they ended up getting Mac Jones anyway. Is Kyle Shanahan just a genius and knew Mac Jones would end up here? Who knows? That's not the case, but you know what? Mac Jones is here. We all got our first look, and he looked pretty good, for just learning the offense. He had some ups and downs. He ended on an interception, but he had a great 50-yard pass to Jordan Watkins. More on Jordan Watkins later, but Mac Jones looked the part. I think he's going to be an improved Sam Darnold, a serviceable backup to Brock Purdy. You need a good backup because, let's be honest, Kyle Shanahan quarterbacks tend to get hurt because Kyle Shanahan does some interesting things with his, backup tight ends. Not specifically George Kittle. George Kittle does phenomenal things, but when we look at Luke Farrell, he got Mac Jones sacked because he did that same end around, the same play that got Brock Purdy hurt against the Eagles a couple NFC championships ago. Pulled around, Mac Jones ends up getting sacked, and I think those are the reasons why you need a good, serviceable backup. Mac Jones seems to fit that mold. He's tall. He can run the offense, seems to make quick decisions, has a good arm. Again, had a 50-yard bomb, which is probably the highlight for the offense, to Jordan Watkins. And so I think having him there makes a ton of sense. Mac Jones isn't a bust. But he seems like, he might be able to resurrect his career similar to Sam Darnold. Maybe he gets another shot somewhere else. My assumption is Kyle Shanahan probably wants to keep him here. He needs a good number 2 behind Brock Purdy. And so we'll see what happens there. But there's one thing that's for sure, is behind Brock Purdy and Mac Jones, you have Tanner Mordecai, and you also have Carter Bradley. Both are absolutely terrible. If the 49ers ever find themselves needing to put one of them into a regular season game or into a playoff game, you can kiss the game goodbye because both look absolutely lost out there on the field. It was atrocious. You didn't know who was worse, one or the other. It's like somebody wants to make the team, somebody wants to make the practice squad, and we all know the NFL rules. It is the Brock Purdy, Josh Johnson rule, because when he got hurt against the Eagles, Josh Johnson had that concussion. Well, you didn't have a third quarterback. Jimmy Garoppolo wasn't back yet. And so you end up having to put like Kyle Juszczyk at quarterback, and it did not look pretty. So they created the Josh Johnson, Brock Purdy rule. Well, it's not going to matter if you have Tanner Mordecai or Carter Bradley there. Neither of them seem like they can, hit water if they fell out of a boat. It was that bad. And so I assume that there's going to be some movement in the quarterback room. My assumption is Carter Bradley might be gone because Tanner Mordecai showed some things with his legs in the game. Now, granted, he threw a terrible interception. He also fumbled while patting the ball. Yes, he landed on it, but it was just that bad. And so thank God for Mac Jones. We got a good serviceable backup behind Brock Purdy, but if they both get hurt, the 49ers are going to be in a world of hurt. Speaking of quarterbacks and protecting them, Spencer Burford, we got a longer look at him, and it is clear the 49ers do not have depth at the offensive line, and they need that. They've been trying out Spencer Burford as a potential swing tackle because Ben Bartch is going to be playing at left guard, and let's just say it went exactly how you thought it would go. Spencer Burford was atrocious. In back-to-back plays, he absolutely got decimated. It did not look good at all. And so, in fact, if you go to Twitter, you see John Feliciano said, have John Lynch give me a call. Well, John Lynch here, here's that little nudge. Give John Feliciano a call because you need depth at the offensive line position. And let's just face it, you tried out Spencer Burford, and it's not working out. He can be a backup guard or whatever. But if you need to rely on him, if Trent Williams goes down, the 49ers are in a world of hurt. So there's got to be some moves there as well. Robert Saleh. Let's talk about Robert Saleh for a bit. Robert Saleh, after going to the Jets, came back to the 49ers as the highest paid defensive coordinator in the entire NFL. And what an amazing pickup for the 49ers. Again, the first 3 series, most of the Broncos had their starters in the game, and most of the 49ers backups, outside of a few starters, were in the game. We got a good long look at D. Winters. We got a good long look at Siegel. We had a good long look at a couple, like Kalia Davis made some good plays. You got CJ West that made some good plays. You got Alfred Collins in the middle. So you got to see some other guys that are going to need to be contributors throughout the entire season. But Robert Saleh shows exactly why he's the highest paid defensive coordinator. What did he do in the first 3 drives? He forced a safety. The Broncos did not score a single point, 9-0, when the 49ers had some starters and backups in. As soon as they all left, guess what? Your third and fourth stringers were going to do what third and fourth stringers do, just not be completely out of position, miss tackles, not set the edge, and do all of those things. In fact, outside contain was concerning amongst the backups. Even some of the starters and second stringers, outside contain needs to be addressed. But all in all, Robert Saleh shows exactly why they, decided to make him the highest paid defensive coordinator, because he knows what he's doing. He knows how to put the right people in the right spots. In fact, speaking of right people in the right spots, Trey Brown really showed out today. He had a forced fumble. He had a great 4th down stop. I think Trey Brown was a great pickup, played for the Seattle Seahawks. He looked great. Stone Blanton as well. We call him Stone Cold Blanton because of all the forced fumbles. He made a great forced fumble today. He's going to make the team. He's going to be on special teams. I think there were a lot of great plays, people that showed out. You had Jordan Watkins, who's going to be kind of that, he's not going to outrun you, but he's honestly going to be that Juwan Jennings that you need. He's going to be the one that's going to catch those contested catches, and he's cheap. Jordan Watkins is cheap. Why? Because he's on that rookie deal. Yes, he's raw. He had that false start where you had the defense creeping up and pretending like they're going to blitz, and they caught him to jump. So he's very raw, but you can see he can make those contested catches. You could see, the potential is there. So I look forward to seeing him continue to make those strides. Darrell Luter Jr., he stopped a touchdown, did a great job one-on-one with no help. So I thought that was good. You had Patrick Taylor who made a touchdown, and he's somebody who's going to make the team, I think. Because let's face it, there's a lot of injuries at the running back position. You cannot trust Isaac Rendo to stay healthy. Today you had Amir Abdullah get hurt after a fumble. And so there's a lot of things to kind of keep your eye on when it comes to the running back room. I believe there's now, after Keyshawn Vaughn just got signed, there's 7 running backs on the roster, which that number is going to come down. You have to keep some for special teams, probably some for practice squad. But the reality is there's a lot of running backs that are hurt. And so I think it's something that the 49ers they're going to go ahead and plug and play and see who can contribute to the special teams, but also if they're forced to be put in, can take care of that. Another thing I want to talk about on the offensive or on the defensive side, you got Luke Gifford, who played very well too. I think he's going to make the team as well. Played very well. Let's also talk about we talked about Darrell Luter Jr. We talked about Kalia Davis. Kalia Davis, who was picked up last year, 5th rounder, actually did very well today. He was able to get kind of a low base, be able to take on. He split the defense a couple times. I think he had a sack. And so hopefully he can take that next step that the 49ers were hoping he would do during the offseason. So well done there. A few other things to keep an eye on. Special teams. I think that's still an issue. There were a couple of returns that the Broncos had where you're like, somebody needs to tackle somebody. That needs to be addressed. So hopefully that gets taken care of. We talked about outside contain. There's a few things, and that's what these preseason games are for. It's to find what are the areas that the team needs to fine-tune. You have Junior Bergen. He's going to be a good returner. I think this might be the year the 49ers have, after a long time, an actual punt return for a touchdown. Junior Bergen, is showing promise, and he catches the ball. He catches the ball without bobbling it. That's one of those things. I know, shocker, right? But I think the 49ers have finally found their returner. I don't know if he's going to do much on the offensive side of the ball, but from a special team standpoint, he was able to control the ball, did not fumble it, made some smart decisions on special teams. Like there was one punt where he just stayed clear from the ball. He didn't try to force it. And his very first punt return went for about 30 to 40 yards. So I think there's a lot of promise there. And you know what? Let's see how next week's preseason game goes. But there's one thing that's clear, is that the 49ers need to stay healthy because depth is a problem, both on the offensive side and the defensive side. And hopefully you get some players back next week. Hopefully we can get a look at some of the offensive weapons. Hopefully we can get a couple runs from Christian McCaffrey. Hopefully we can get George Kittle that's targeted. Hopefully Jordan Watkins can start working on his connection with Brock Purdy. We'll see if Juwan Jennings, if we have any timeline on that, maybe we could see that connection we've been hearing about with Ricky Pearsall and Brock Purdy. Maybe we'll be able to see Nick Bosa. Maybe Mykal Williams I know he hyperextended his knee, but maybe next week he might be back. That's what Kyle Shanahan was saying. So I think things are coming together, but the key is the 49ers need to stay healthy because there's not much depth. And so what we learned a lot from this game is not a lot of depth, but there are some players that are showing out that the 49ers are going to rely on throughout the year. And looking forward to see what they do this week, what pickups they make, and what adjustments. Well, that's all we have for today. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll catch you next time.